Sure. I've hit the go live button now, so maybe we're here. I'll say it again. Hey, Unda's here. They say they're excited.
Yay! Hello, Unda.
I've hit the go live button now. We are live.
Brad. And welcome to the Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome.
The Thunderdome. Ooh, I have ginger beer. He's spicy.
Oh, so spicy. For me,
Spicy.
the thing with ginger beer is a lot less about the spice of it and a lot more about the ferocity of the bubbles.
Yeah. Like, hi, you're going to have bubbles up your nose.
Yep.
You have no choice.
No choice.
Bubbles.
Excited and Unda. Just wrapping it up. The Undadome.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. The Underdome. Oh, I need to draw that now. Welcome to the
Please do.
Underdome.
Welcome
You're
to the
going to
Underdome.
cry.
You're going to question your gender.
And whether or not you have bipolar disorder.
And whether or not your long-term relationship is working out.
Woof.
The Unda giveth and the Unda taketh away.
They really do.
Oh, man.
Alright. Do I know how to read today? Let's find out.
Always an exciting question in this house. Alrighty. So, how you feeling? Do you want to start out as narrator or not?
I can start out as narrator, but I gotta say before we start, I scrolled down a little bit and I just saw size in American. If that ain't the fucking mood.
Just absolutely the mood. Also, don't forget puns for the Undadome. Free puns everywhere. It's like popcorn.
The puns aren't free. You pay with your sanity.
What are you talking about? I'm normal.
This is 100% normal. Where? Oh, mango tea went down the wrong pipe.
Oops. Sometimes streaming is suffering. We struggle. We struggle for all of you. We hope you enjoy.
I'm being murdered by my tea. I hope you guys appreciate this.
Millions of leaves you have supped upon in your time. Now we take vengeance.
Oh my god. Listen,
We'll drink you, bitch.
My brain went, weed, take vengeance.
That's a very different vibe.
Weed. The weeds, they crave vengeance.
That works too. I was thinking 420, but you do you.
Oh. Listen, the weed take vengeance when you get a little too toasty.
Toasty.
Okay, now I'm just imagining Celix and Matuna high off their ass. It just becomes slowly more ineligible? Not ineligible. Unintelligible?
Unintelligible.
Listen, we don't know words today.
It bodes well for us.
No brain, head empty.
The
Okay,
S in stream
we ready?
stands for struggle. Ready.
It really do. Sometimes it stands for phallic. Okay. There's a whole... Wow, we're starting off strong with me forgetting how to read.
It happens.
There's a whole building of things you don't know, but you can go looking for the answers as long as you can narrow it down to $20. You hurry from section to section as Matuna trails you with an expression of fond exasperation. Probably the best way to do this is to get introductory books to everything you can, right? Then when you know what questions to ask from there, you can move on. Modern history, Fae and human relations, a primer to law, modern engineering, a world atlas, magical languages, medicine on non-humans, medicine on humans, history of...
What country is this again?
You check with Matuna. That's not going to be a fun read. America. There you go. Matuna sighs and points to the right section. You feel like you need a broader scope. You've already got modern history in general, but these are region specific, right? So maybe you should get a little of everywhere. You're running out of room in your arms, so you pass the stack onto Matuna and keep walking. I'm pretty sure that reading this is going to fuck with your worldview. This is a lot of war you got here, Matuna warns you.
Isn't it better to know that? It happened, even if I don't know about it. I want to know.
You counter and go back to the floor directory. And if you don't like what you find out, he goes on.
Then I ask more questions, better ones.
You tell him and read the directory over. Like, he asks.
Why did this happen? Is it gonna happen again? Can I do anything? Those kinds of things. Well, I guess. I haven't read the books yet.
You shrug. You need a section of books that tell you how to be a person. You look at Matuna to ask him where he thinks they'd have books like that, but the look on Matuna's face makes you pause. He smiles, a little bittersweet, and explains. You sound just like Zionless.
Gankry was supposed to, or like him but better.
You shrug.
Well, that failed, but you're sounding like him. He questioned this sort of thing, this sort of shit do.
He tells you.
Good.
You're happy that other people feel this thing that you're feeling, and it kind of answers the question about why you're like this at all.
I've got to make sure it doesn't go down the same way this time,
Matuna mutters. Before you can question that, Matuna asks you something else.
What other books do you want? You've got 2 left.
I don't know. Something on how to be a person, I guess?
You say vaguely.
Philosophy, I guess. Oh, yeah. I don't get why you'd want to go back to endless debate about the right way to live your life. But whatever you want to do.
Matuna grumbles and slaps the button for the elevator with his tail. The two of you get inside and go up a few floors. Sure enough, you find the right section and start looking through it. The book that's very helpfully labeled as an introduction to philosophy seems like an obvious pick, and you wish that all of the sections were so thoughtful. But what about your last book? What to pick? What to pick? Your eyes alight on a relatively slim purple volume. The title calls out to you in teal writing. Do you think what you think you think? Do you? Your newly rediscovered urge to question is now driven to question itself. How interesting. You slide the book out and flip it over to read the back. Is what you believe coherent and consistent, or is it a jumble of contradictions? If you could design yourself a god, what could he or she or it be like? Can you spot a logical flaw in an argument, even if it's hiding from you? Oh, you need this. You need this right now, and possibly however many years ago you were made. Actually, before that, Cankry needed this.
Okay, I've got them all. For now, anyways.
You tell Masuna, putting the last book on the top and then taking the stack off of him. Now that you don't need your hands to look at books, there's no reason to make him carry it. Matuna shakes his head a little, but leads you back to the elevator.
What?
You ask him.
Was Solix never like this when he was made?
Curious about stuff? A little, I guess. But he knew everything his maker did. He went through a bit where he got to work out if he liked stuff or thought something himself, or if
Matuna starts.
Or if it was just what Dave liked or thought.
You finish for him. Matuna freezes and then pulls you into the elevator when the doors open. There's a flare of his magic, and when the door shut, the thing doesn't move. He stopped it.
Were you going to tell me?
You wonder and look over at him over your books.
Fucking Zolix.
Matuna hisses.
After he told me. That's not how I got him to say, though.
You say helpfully, and Matuna laughs at that, even though he looks like he wishes that he hadn't.
Look.
Whoa, my brain stopped reading for a second. I'm doing my best, Your Honor.
You're doing great.
Look, the magic around this whole spell is crazy fucking powerful. And I don't know all of the details about it. You're really magically raw and fragile right now. I kind of didn't want to mush those things together. At least, if you know, then you know that you have to keep quiet about some things. Yeah?
He asks.
I have a lot of questions about it, but Solix made it clear that it's not really... Well, I trust him when he tells me about this. I don't know a lot of things yet, but I know that I can trust him and you, and Kanaya and Porum, also my friends, more or less.
You say.
More or less.
Matuna repeats, looking a little alarmed.
June still has that whistle, and they keep hiding things from me, so yeah, more or less.
You say.
Fair, I guess. Just don't talk about the whole thing with Dave and the fuckery that went down with time and the event, okay?
Matuna says, and snaps his finger. The elevator starts moving.
I know.
You tell him grudgingly. Is it the right thing to do? Well, you have several books about philosophy here, so here's hoping that you can work that out. Even so, you hold Matuna and Selix's request in higher regard than most things. It'd take a lot to dissuade you out of that. When the doors open, you're back on the ground floor. Matuna steps out first, leaving you to follow him and go back to the office. Kanaya checks the books out for you, and you put them in your void right away.
I somehow didn't think that he could do that. It was always so weird to see you do that. I keep forgetting he's like you were.
Kanaya says in surprise.
How dare you?
Matuna huffs.
Matuna wasn't a throne, I don't think.
You say, guessing the reason for his offense.
I wasn't. But that's not what I meant. We're not the Zane Ganaya. I'm not a book nerd. I'm cool.
He brags.
So cool.
The coolest.
Do you want to switch narrators?
That might be helpful because my brain keeps turning off.
No worries.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I just saw a big chunk of narration come up and I was like, you know what might be nice? Kanaya gives her brother-in-law a disparaging look and then turns to you. I think you're cool, Karkat. Books are incredibly cool. You nod and then very maturely poke your tongue out at Matuna, who unfortunately has you beat in that particular contest, as he has too. You could probably shift your form to try to do that too, but it's hard and might be a bad idea. You'll just have to keep doing this. That's just how it is. Kanaya takes the two of you back to her home, and you walk with your face snuggled into your gifted green scarf. It feels nice, peaceful. At Kanaya's home, you look around with a curiosity that you didn't have the last time you were here. You ask her where she got every interesting item that you see. Where did this little carved figure come from? That painting? Those bottles of wine? Where on this map has she been? Where would she like to go? As Kanaya explains about everything, Mituna tells Porum what happened to you. That part of who you are unlocked, giving you that need to know things that you didn't have in the same way before. You hear Matuna comparing you to Signless again, and Porum seems to agree. You don't really know how to feel about that. I feel like I'm probably being annoying. Kankri hated dealing with constant questions, but I feel like I have to ask things. You say to Kanaya after her explaining a few more things. Well, she says slowly and thoughtfully. You do listen to the answers, so you're not like a small child asking why incessantly and not paying attention. I also imagine that a certain amount of it will tail off eventually. When you know that I spent some time in Italy for a while, and you know when, then you can probably guess that something I have is from there if it looks like it. You're simply building up experience, that's all. Besides, I do find the quest for knowledge to be endearing and good in and of itself. I've always gravitated towards study and learning in my eternal life, and I believe that knowledge and truth is a shining light in this world. It's a little abstract, but it's what I sincerely feel is true. I can agree with that. I don't like not knowing things, but it's kind of exciting to get to learn everything again. I'm going to read so many books, you say eagerly. You're so glad that you don't need to sleep. You're going to spend all of that time reading. Priorities.
Priorities. Okay, but that's an absolute mood. If I didn't have to sleep, oh, I would read so much.
Oh, yes. I'm glad that we already adopted you, because I'm keeping you. You're perfect. Kanaya smiles and pulls you over to the sofa to sit down there. So, you're full of questions then, your grandmother says with a smile. Actually, I'm full of endlessly spinning eyeball rings, one of which is full of questions, but yes, you agree. How does that work exactly? Porum asks, glancing at Matuna, who is sitting side on in one of Kanaya's armchairs with his legs over one arm.
Angels and demons are made for a purpose and made of stuff. Traits, ideas, whatever. They don't have to be what you're for.
Matuna says. I'm a throne. I'm supposed to be throny. I'm supposed to throne? You frown as you try to remember how to make words work. You tangled yourself up in there somehow. It's far more entertaining watching Dave do that than it is having it happen to you.
Okay, but he's supposed to throw. It's just Karkat is now a projectile weapon.
Projectile weapon!
Toss him from a cannon.
Rolling
Get
around
that bitch in a
at the speed
trebuchet.
of Karkat.
It's pretty fucking fast. On occasion.
Right, so all the core to throwing stuff comes built in. You're supposed to get traits that your maker wanted you to have. Things they wanted to share with you, or things they wanted to splinter off from themselves so they could grow better, like a tree branch forking.
Matuna goes on. Or a cancer to be removed, you say with fake cheer. Kanaya gently pats your knee, though her expression is tight and murderous.
Yeah, from what you said, it seems like Jankry hated this questioning thing that you got going on. I think he took out everything he didn't like and crammed it into one person. That way he didn't have to experience it himself. Except he did, because he still had to interact with you, which, aside from this being the worst fucking thing you can do to a person, it's also the dumbest fucking idea ever. Like, oh, I hate this. Let's make it so I have to experience it every day, and now everyone else can hear and see this too. It's just beyond stupid. Also, evil. Going back to that again because I can't say it enough.
Matuna hisses. Yeah, but he could make me shut up, you point out with a shrug.
Except you clearly found your own way around that.
He counters. You shrug. You suppose he's right. If Cankry took those parts of himself out, do you mean to say that he couldn't do that or experience that any longer? Porum asks. Yeah, you confirm. Which means he was going around uncritically accepting everything? Kanaya asks, clearly aghast about that. He could still ask questions. He just didn't didn't doubt things, or ask why something was like that. Maybe if something agreed with what he thought, then he'd accept it. I don't know what that's like. I don't think that's what I was like this morning, was I? You wonder.
You weren't this curious, but you still had the capacity for this. It just wasn't running right.
Matuna explains. So, what else can we expect? This can already be a tough thing to deal with. Even when he was young, my poor son was always bothered by things and questioning things. Your grandmother says with a worried look at you. You fiddle with the edge of your scarf and feel uneasy. This part of you being referred to as bothersome is unsettling. Cankry hated this part of you, and it'd be pretty arrogant to assume that you've solved it in one day. Less than a day, even. What kind of things? You ask quietly. Oh, all sorts of things, Porum answers, but that's not enough of an answer for you. She sighs, and Matuna shoots her a look, one that almost suggests he told her so. Whenever things weren't even or fair, or whenever he saw things set up a certain way, he would ask why. Sometimes there would be answers that I could give him. You can't drink that because it's alcohol and you're too young, it would make you sick. We can't keep that chicken because we have no space for it to live, and that wouldn't be fair. He was never satisfied with because I said so, or because that's how it is, and honestly, in honesty, I liked how curious he was. Porum answers in a soft voice. It's a lot harder when it's questions like, why do those people get medicine and you don't? Or why does money mean you can't afford to be sick, right? Kanaya asks. Well, those are very good questions, you say, with a wide-eyed need to know answers too. Unfortunately, the answers to them aren't very good. By the time you were around, he had worked out that the answer really was because other people said so, and had set himself the task of finding people and making them explain themselves, and trying to show them a better way of doing things. Porum tells her. You don't know how you I might need us to switch off soon.
Okay. Do you want me to switch in?
Yeah, let's do it now.
You don't know how you do that. You think you need to learn first. This all sounds like a solid plan to you, though.
Yeah, and then I show up because he started getting the hang of some of his God-given powers, and he's a nightmare to deal with. We show up in a town trying to keep a low profile. I look around, and he's gone, pulling ads around the place, trying to cure sickness from anyone he can find.
Matuna says in exasperation.
He did bribe me several times to distract you, so that he could get a head start.
Kanaya laughs.
I fucking knew you were in on it.
Matuna hisses, pointing at her accusingly.
What's so bad about that? Not the distracting Matuna thing, but asking questions and doing things.
You ask, because it doesn't sound so bad to you.
Aside from how that ended for him?
Kanaya asks. Though it's not really a question, then the idea makes you wince.
A lot of things don't have answers that you can find out for sure. They're unknowable. Or they do have answers, and those answers are unpleasant to deal with. He despaired sometimes that people didn't think like he did. If only he could explain things right, then everyone and everything would be fine, because good and rational people would act right if they only asked the right things.
Porum says sadly.
Wouldn't they?
You wonder, making Porum and Kanaya look at you with a deep kind of sadness.
No, a lot of the time, no. And sometimes knowing why doesn't help either.
Matuna tells you.
But why?
You ask again. Matuna takes a deep breath and holds it for a moment before sitting up straight and looking at you properly.
Okay, I'll show you. Ask me questions about me. I know the answer to those, where I wouldn't for sure know anything about you. Pick anything and we'll go up.
Matuna suggests.
Go up?
You repeat.
I'll give you an answer until we get to something where we run out of answers.
He elaborates. So, if you can ask anything, what do you ask?
Do you wish that I wouldn't ask questions?
You start, because you have to start somewhere.
No, because it means you're getting better. But I know it's going to fuck with your head because it did for him.
He answers.
Do you have the same thing? The questioning thing?
You go on, trying to follow the same thread, even though you've got a bunch of different things that you could ask just from that one answer alone.
Not as much. I didn't like a lot of stuff in heaven, but I didn't really challenge any of it when I was up there. Silas asked the right things and poked at the right stuff, and I couldn't unsee it. I think it was like that for him all of the time.
What do you mean? What's that like?
You ask, not sure how to phrase that.
For most people, I think it's easy to not ask questions about this stuff.
Matuna pinches the bridge of his nose and thinks for a moment.
I cared when I was in heaven, but I wasn't dealing with humans in general. I knew things weren't great for a lot of them, but they don't live that long by our standards. It's a huge thing. Where the fuck do you even start?
Anywhere.
You say back. Because unless there's one place that makes sense to start, then you just have to pick somewhere, right?
Well, it's hard to know where to start. Is one thing more important than something else? What if you made it worse? It's a lot to think about.
Can I read? In the same voice that she used when she was explaining library to you.
So it's hard. So most people don't. They'll do some things or try to help things for people they care about, but it's easier not to think about it or not see it.
Matuna adds.
But why?
You ask again. Matuna shrugs, and it feels like your soul is itching unbearably.
You said you'd answer.
You accuse him.
This is what Silas used to feel too. There aren't good answers for lots of things.
Porum says in a sad tone.
No, that's...
You think about it.
It would be because you weren't made that way.
Okay, let's keep going then. Say that's true. We're different people. So, sure, my maker made me different to how yours made you. And for the humans, let's say they picked it up from their parents or whatever. Fine.
He agrees. You hesitate. That's an answer, but you got another question already. The idea that you can get to the bottom of everything is starting to become a little questionable itself.
Why were you made that way then?
You ask uneasily.
Don't know. My maker's not around asking, but let's say that he made me for my purpose, and that makes sense because angels are like that. We all do different things. Jobs.
Matuna suggests, though it sounds like he's making this up.
But you said you were surprised that I hadn't fallen. Does that mean there aren't other angels like me? None of them do this?
You ask. None that I've ever met. I know of a few. Okay, I knew at least one, technically, who questioned a lot of things. But this is how it goes.
He says, and gestures to his general demony appearance.
So, it's by design. Why?
You can't even finish that. The idea rotates within you. You already touched on it before with Rose. Either this is how things are supposed to be, or it isn't. But you're talking about an all-powerful deity here.
Does she not know or not care?
You ask instead, your voice cold.
does it matter? I think it's the second one, but really, it's not like you can do anything about it. This is what I mean. There's no answer you're gonna get that'll make you feel better here. I don't want you hurting yourself asking things. Like I said, I've seen how that goes. Matuna explains, shooting for compassion. You don't know what to do with that. You want to know the answers here, but then what? You,
My chest hurts when I think about that.
you say, and touch your fingers to the fabric of your sweater above your sign.
yeah, I've got a pretty good guess about what else he's gonna unlock.
Matuna says, but he's talking to Porum.
I think I can see the direction that might take, yes.
She nods. You don't feel all that happy about this, or all that satisfied with the answers that you've got. You can only hope that it's because you weren't asking smart enough questions, or you don't know enough about the world. You can't really do anything else until you know more. Kanaya decides to move the conversation on and instead decides to show you how your scarf was woven together. It's a big square shape that is done line by line in intricate little patterns. It's satisfying to be able to learn about something where there are answers. Answers that make sense. Porum tells you all about the techniques that she's learned and the ones that she favors over Kanaya. Kanaya tells you that you can weave magic right into fabric, like the charm of protection in your scarf, but even far more intricate things. It's a nice night. There's enough company and conversation that you can soothe your ruffled feathers from the earlier line of questioning. At the end of it, Matuna walks you home, which seems silly for a guy who can teleport, and you who can fly. You're not complaining. It's nice to be around him.
I know it's kind of a dick move to keep comparing you to him, and I know I've not even known you that long.
Matuna starts.
I've known you for my entire life, or the bits of it that I remember in one go, anyway.
You point out. He's the first person that you saw, after all.
Baby bird. Baby bird imprinting on the demon.
Baby bird.
Bird.
Like a little baby bird looking at the wrong thing.
Matuna snorts, but doesn't explain himself when you give him a curious look.
Same brain
What
as
I
Matuna.
Baby bird, baby bird.
Baby bird.
Okay, but now I'm just imagining itty bitty baby Kirkhead as a teeny tiny duckling, and like, how cute is that?
That would be so cute.
Little baby duckling. What I mean is that you remind us of him. I'm not trying to say you gotta be like him or anyone. I just hated seeing him upset, and I don't want that for you either. I'm trying to give you the advanced guide to not ending up slumped over a table drunkenly crying about why your divine creator would set you up like this.
Matuna says instead.
My creator's dead, and probably suffering the consequences of his choices.
You say simply, betting that Cancri is still having to listen to every endless question that occurs to you.
If there was any justice, sure.
Matuna laughs.
I probably can't follow your advice, though. Sorry.
You warn him. You feel you should really be honest with him of all people.
You're still going to question everything, aren't you?
He asks with an exhausted sigh.
If I just knew what was wrong, then that'd be something. If I can ask the right thing the right way, then it'll make sense. Then, if I know, I can tell other people what to ask. They don't have to be like me if I can tell them what to ask. Then they don't have to do all of the stuff that I've done.
You explain. Matuna shuts his eyes and sighs, still walking by your side. He bumps into you slightly as his balance drifts with his eyes closed.
Good luck with that. Let me know if you figure the universe out, or if you're going to cry about it because you don't.
He says finally.
I will.
You agree. It's starting to drizzle with rain now, and Matuna
The
telekinetically directs the falling water away from you. You watch it with interest. Every little way the droplets bounce off this way and that. There's probably a way to predict where they'll go. There's probably a book on that. You know it doesn't matter, but you're still interested.
Cankry didn't like this part of him, of me.
You say. It's not a question, but you hope that he doesn't feel the same.
Yeah. Well, he's stupid. It's cool though. You're not like me. I couldn't have made you, but I feel like Zymus could have if he'd been an angel. I'm sure he liked you.
Matuna tells you. That'd be nice, but you're glad that you've got the family that you have now.
Do you think I could get him back for you?
You wonder and look skyward again. Heavenward, even.
I'm recording.
Oh, what?
Oh, sorry, I thought I muted myself.
Oh. Roommate.
Roommate.
Oh, I know how to read. I feel like such an old man. I moved my glasses for a second. I had to move them back.
Just the fidgets.
Oh, a sleepy Kylie. I know.
Sorry, I have my moist Brit. I think that's what we were going with.
Yeah.
My moist Brit. Oh, kid, no. Do not break into heaven and try to steal the son of fucking God back. Absolutely not.
Matuna orders you.
But theoretically, is that...
You start, and Matuna grabs you by the shoulders and turns you to face him.
Don't. You'll die. We'll all be sad. And you will make your grandmother sad.
Matuna insists.
Okay, I know I'm not back to normal yet, but when I am, if we get a really good plan together, could we...
It's hard to keep talking with how much Matuna is shaking you.
Don't do that.
He insists firmly.
So, is that, maybe later, or... Ah!
You yelp when Matuna gets you in a headlock and uses his psionics to clip through your hidden halo in a way that makes your whole skull feel like static. It doesn't hurt, but it's not fun.
No extraplanar breaking and entering. Go read some books, nerd.
Matuna says, finally letting you go and shoving you to the door to your dorm building. You stick your tongue out at him, but go inside anyway. Matuna naturally has you beaten in that particular competition. You head upstairs feeling a little lighter. Still, you are certain that Matuna would like to have Silas back. You're going to put that particular plan to the side for now. You can work on it as you learn more, but you'll get to it eventually. You'll see.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
You gotta love his chutzpah.
We love some heavenly breaking and entering. It's our favorite hobby. I forget.
The most based of hobbies.
The most holy of hobbies, even. Okay, I forget. Are our breaks 10 or 15 minutes? I can't remember.
We usually do 15, so meet you back at 55?
Sounds good.
Wonderful.
All right, talk to you in a bit. We will continue.
Talk to you in a bit, and I'll get the heckin' music up.
Heck yeah.
Any second now.
All right. Adios.
Adios.
Hello. Whoa.
I muted myself.
No.
I only remember to do it sometimes. Better that than none of the times. I'll take what I can get coming back from a break this long.
Valid.
Also, we are going to be able to finish up everything that is currently published of 22 Seconds Later in this season 2 of existing. So, season 3 will come much later after tremendous and impossible projects have been completed, and there is space again to return to this extremely fraught corner of Unda's worlds.
The fraught corner.
The fraught corner at the darkest timeline. Literally, as per Rose.
It really is the darkest timeline. But we're having a great time.
We are having a great time. Carcat's making family, asking difficult questions, asking other questions beyond that because he likes to ask questions.
And we love that for him.
We love that
He's
for
living
him.
his best.
He
His
is.
best life. Or doing his best anyway.
He's doing his best, Your Honor.
He really is.
So
Oh my
we come
goodness.
back from break. Carcat has had a nice little time to think to himself, by which we mean it's time to get into the headspace, gang. Headspace.
Headspace.
And I think I will start out as narrator for this because you have plenty of people to juggle.
Oh boy, yeah, I do have several. And I am apologizing now if I can't get Cronus's voice right. I'm going to do my best, but accents are not my strong suit.
All good. And hey, if you do it consistently the wrong way, that's just the new right way. Bada bing, bada boom, solved your problem.
Solve your problem right there.
Right there.
Right there. Cronus accidentally becomes Southern. He accidentally becomes Southern, and that's just where we live now.
Sometimes you gotta go to the South. God help us all.
No, or whenever I try to voice Gamzee for like random fucking reasons, he always turns into a Southern preacher, and I don't know why.
I think that fits really well, actually.
It does, and I find it really funny.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Undeful.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Anyway.
Okay. Your useless creation is missing, yet again. You're trying not to order him so much. Obviously, you do it where you have to. But the point is that he needs to learn to regulate his own behavior. You told him to write out his explanation for why he was detrimental to your success before he was made. He did that, though his answer leaves a lot to be desired. What you hadn't told him to do was what to do when he was finished. You had hoped that he might make himself useful and tidy up a little, or sit quietly until you came back from your lecture. But no, he's gone. You doubt that he's anywhere near Cronus. Karkat has expressed an intense aversion to your Moirail ever since he was made. Finding Karkat is hard. There are a few places that he'll go, but in reality, he's just as likely to wander around and see what's going on. It makes tracking him down very difficult. He's not on the roof of your home or anywhere in the immediate vicinity outside, so you know where you have to go next. You fly the short distance to Eridan's home and let yourself in without knocking on the door. There's a frustrated noise from within, and Eridan looks around the hallway already starting to snap.
What did I tell you about Cancri? Oh, I didn't realize it was you.
Eridan's expression of irritation is hastily plastered over with one of stressed politeness.
Is he here? I'm assuming not, since you clearly assumed that I was him.
You ask, walking into Eridan's home and looking around.
Karkat? No, he's not here.
Eridan answers, still trying to be polite, but clearly a little annoyed at how you're allowing yourself into his space like this. Technically, Eridan ought to outrank you, but as you are pale with his maker, and given your unusual status with the Divine and her son, it's not so clear-cut. You know that Cronus has compelled Eridan to listen to you as much as he listens to him. You can't order him, but you could still exert some loaned pressure if you wanted to.
When was the last time that you saw him?
You ask, eyeing the place up. It's really very messy. Eridan's court papers are everywhere.
Yesterday, I was showing him a little magic during a break. I'm guessing that he's missing?
Eridan says.
Let me know if you see him.
You tell him.
If I see him before you find him, I'll try to let you know.
Eridan says, distinctly not agreeing to do what you asked. You hope that Karkat isn't picking that sort of thing up from him. Maybe you should speak to Cronus about that. Though, on the other hand, if Karkat is willing to learn more magic from people who aren't so frustrated with his presence, well, by which you mean you, teaching Karkat anything is like pulling teeth. Actually, that would be far easier, though alas, not nearly as educational. Cancri problems.
Cancri problems.
Leaving Eridan's home, you go towards the fenced-off area that the sun resides in. You really dislike coming here. Well, ideally, Karkat won't be here either. It'll mean that you have no idea at all where he is, but he won't be here. You'd prefer to not be here either, and you can at the very least hide yourself so that no one else can see you. You walk around a tree and falter to a stop when you hear laughing. It's your voice, but you've never sounded like that. You didn't! Karkat laughs loudly.
Well, what was I supposed to do?
Signless laughs as well. Well, they were trying to rob you, though, Karkat insists.
Look, I don't know how I did it. Miracles are like that sometimes.
Signless says, waving a hand.
It's not my fault, and it was going to be me and Matuna dealing with them, and my way was less fatal.
Fate eel. Karkat giggles and leans against Signless's side.
Okay, I see how it is. You turn two men's swords into eels, and everyone thinks you're a comedian.
Signless says and rolls his eyes. You've never seen him smile. Not like that. Signless has been warm and welcoming, or he was at the beginning, but never have you seen him happy. And Karkat has your face, even though you can tell from yours immediately because he makes expressions that you never do. Everything is so overdramatic. You would know if you'd ever smiled as wide and brightly as Karkat is when he looks at Silas, when he laughs with him. You've never had that. Never. You back away and hastily leave, but you can't leave your thoughts behind. Karkat can have that with Signless, but everything he was in you once. Signless was never like that with you, never looked at you like that. Karkat gets that. Karkat, who is every flaw you have made real. It's not right.
Want me to switch in?
It's short, I got it.
Okay.
You blink and realize that you've been staring at this page without seeing it for an hour, maybe. You weren't asleep, but maybe Cankry was? Did seeing you with your family bring something up for him? You set your book down and lean over to grab the medical text that you got. As you do, you think very clearly so that Cankry can hear you. Because you're pretty sure that when someone is sick, they remove something surgically to make them better, that the part that people want to keep is typically not the part that's cancer. Maybe, if Cankry ripped you out and everyone else liked you more, then he was the sick part. Or maybe you just killed him. Not that it'd help, because you've still got him here, and he's going to give you back whatever you want until you're finally even. He's got a long fucking way to go.
Woof, yes he does.
And now we can swap.
Okay. Okay, but this opening part, yeah, that's a mood.
Yeah.
You are awake. This is not ideal.
Turn Tech Godhead began trolling Tentacle Therapist.
Rose. Rose. Rose, wake up. Rose, stop sleeping gothically. I'm having thoughts. Second thoughts, even.
Too early.
Is it a good idea to take Karkat to class today? Maybe someone should stay back and watch him. I could do that.
He's supposed to go to class.
He's auditing it, and his grade doesn't count, so what does it matter? Also, it's Mindfang's class.
Yes, I know. That's why you're not dead for waking me up this early. I have to get up to go there. Besides, you know how petty she is. If Karkat misses it, then she'll kick up a fuss.
Yeah, well, we gotta make sure Karkat doesn't do anything crazy and blow his whole deal.
Sure.
You're useless. Go drink coffee. I'll talk to you later.
Turntech Godhead ceased trolling Tentacle Therapist.
You place your phone back down again, only for your already set alarm to go off. This is absolutely less than ideal. You get up and dress in a barely awake haze and then leave your room. Karkat is sitting on the sofa, his legs stretched out and crossed at the ankle as he reads a book, though he doesn't look up at you as you come into the main room.
Coffee?
You ask.
Yes. Always yes.
Karkat says immediately, you definitely have his attention now. I almost said affection. I mean, that too.
That too.
I love how this Karkat is just like, I will not eat any food except coffee. I like coffee. And, good for him.
Living his best life.
He really is. You brew the coffee quietly and try to wake up. Mindfang's class could present a problem. Dave is right.
We have class this morning.
You begin.
Really? I read all of my notes that I could find. I didn't understand a lot of them.
Karkat says, and sounds a little frustrated by that.
I'm happy to try and explain anything you don't understand.
You offer, pouring more coffee. Wait, water over the coffee grounds to make coffee. You are not awake.
By all means. The variable does something with density, doesn't work, quotes, if dash change it. The word chapstick followed by 3 question marks.
Karkat says, and you turn to see a sheet of paper with loosely organized notes and part of a magic circle sketched out.
Is anything else on there?
You ask in a vague hope.
Oh, yes.
Karkat nods and reads it again.
Shit's fucked. Dave will do the thing. States. Look up size.
So helpful.
So helpful. I have no helpful answers for that.
You admit, and Karkat puts the paper back into his chest somehow.
I can only assume it meant something at the time, but not so much now.
Karkat says, with a tone of mild exasperation. You toss the coffee filters and paper into the sink, leaving it as a problem for future you. Present you needs coffee, so you pick up both mugs and walk to the sofa with them. Karkat politely pulls his legs out of the way and reaches to take one mug from you. There's quite a lot of books on the floor there.
So, this class.
You begin and sip your coffee.
This class.
Karkat repeats.
Because of that murder, the timetable has been shuffled around a little, and Mindfang's magical combat class is in less than an hour. It's just training, and it's not always combat. I just want to be sure that you're not going to reveal what you are, or go too far by thinking there's real danger there.
You tell him. Karkat drinks his coffee and looks at you. He's not as animated as the Karkat that you remember. He's a little too still as well. He doesn't really breathe unless he's talking, and it trips the uncanny valley part of your brain sometimes. But this is Karkat. What happened to him isn't his fault, and you need to help him.
I don't like combat training that much.
Karkat says after a few moments.
Dave isn't a fan either.
You offer, hoping that it'll be of some comfort. Karkat's expression shifts into a pained little smile, like you made a joke that was a little too dark or something.
Oof.
Big oof.
Big oof. I'm not keen on people noticing me for what I am. I don't want to go back to heaven. But I'm not excited for magical combat either. I don't know how to act like I did before in that class, and I'm not going to let someone hurt me either. I also don't want to hurt anyone else accidentally. I'm not too confident in my ability to defend myself against humans without causing harm.
Karkat says, and that's pretty reasonable.
You already did a pretty powerful shield in our first session, so I think a certain amount of weirdness is normal for you.
You concede. So long as everyone else acts normally, then you do have some leeway here.
A shield of holy protection? Big, shimmery, translucent thing?
He asks in surprise.
I think so, yes.
You nod.
So there is danger there, even though you said there wasn't.
Karkat says, and his voice is cold and almost angry.
No, not...
You start.
A shield like that requires an angel to protect with their soul. You have to believe in real mortal peril to make it strong enough to do anything. So either I completely misunderstood something before, or you're lying to me again.
He accuses you.
Oh, that's not it. It wasn't mortal peril. Mind Fang hates my mother, and she took it out on me in our first class. We all had to prove that we could attack and defend ourselves to be allowed into the class, and she kept pushing my defense long past the point that she needed to. She wouldn't have killed me. If she had, then she'd never have worked again, and my mother would likely have murdered her if Solix hadn't got there first. At worst, I would have been injured and rushed to the infirmary here. I think you feared the worst when you stepped in. It seemed like it was all instinct. Mind Fang hasn't tried anything that harmful since. I wasn't lying when I said that I don't think there's any risk like that in this class. I'm saying that something I'm saying that something defensive is one thing, but if you attacked her, then you'd be in real trouble. You could get kicked out.
You explain hastily.
I doubt I'd be kicked out.
Karkat mutters.
For attacking a lecturer? You very likely would be, even with your current altered state as an excuse.
You warn him, though Karkat doesn't look convinced.
Fine, so she's dangerous, but not that dangerous. I need to be normal around her. Fine, I can do that. I'm curious to see what she's teaching, at least, even if I don't want to learn it.
Karkat says, and opens his book back up again. Things between you feel so wrong lately, and you don't know why. Karkat was fine with you when he first woke up, but since then things have been strange and they've only got worse. You miss him.
I'm sorry.
You apologize, and Karkat looks up from his book in surprise. You spoke without meaning to, but you have to keep going.
I'm sorry that I kept you out of the loop before. It seems like bad things always happen to you, and I wanted to spare you what I could. The last thing I wanted was to be responsible for overloading you. I wasn't trying to hide things from you just then either. It's hard trying to remember what you don't know and what's relevant to tell you. I can't recount your life since I've met you, so anything I tell you is me editorializing to one degree or another.
You go on.
Weren't you upset that June hid things from you?
He points out. Ouch.
I was. I still am. But to be honest, I've been more worried about you than her lately. But you have a point. That was hypocritical of me. Again, I'm sorry.
You tell him. Karkat holds his book to his chest, and open pages pressed. Wow, I can read. Karkat holds his book to his chest, the open pages pressed to the fabric of his sweater. He seems a little softer now, maybe a little sadder too.
I'm sure this whole thing with me is a lot to deal with, but at least I'm getting better. Or something. I unstuck one of my rings yesterday. I got part of myself back.
He says, like a peace offering.
You did? What was it?
You ask eagerly.
Questioning, curiosity, wanting to learn. Whatever you want to call it in English.
He says, and waves his hands a little at the stack of books.
That's amazing news. I'm so happy for you.
You say as emphatically as you can, and then lean over to hug him as best as you can with a mug of coffee in your other hand. Karkat goes,
Oh.
And awkwardly hugs you back while also holding coffee, and try not to drop his book on the floor in the process.
Maybe coming back here really was a good idea if it's helped you that much.
You smile at him as you pull back. Karkat smiles at you too, but it doesn't quite reach his eyes.
If you'd like, you can borrow my notes. You did take notes for me a while back, and they were always a lot more coherent than the sheet you just showed me. I don't see why I can't return the favor.
You offer, and Karkat perks up a little at that.
Really? That would be great. I feel like I could understand my notes better if I had more context. I think some of my own note-taking on what I've been reading is equally, yeah.
Karkat says, and pulls a notebook out of his chest and grimaces at it, putting it away before you can see any notes. Get up and find your bag of holding, pulling your notebooks out for him. You have a different one for each class. Before you came here, you bought different themed notebooks in a fit of academic aesthetic wistfulness, entirely underestimating how much your actual academic life is not Pinterest worthy. Carcat takes the stack of notebooks from you eagerly and starts flicking through them, even putting his coffee down to do so. Now that is something. You drink your coffee and watch as Carcat pulls his own notebook out and floats it in the air next to him. Several eyes open up all over Carcat's face and in the air around him, all of them avidly reading. You can see his own notebook rapidly filling in as he flicks through the pages of yours.
Oh, this page is in different handwriting.
Carcat observes after a while. You think about that. Jade? Jade? The
Jade.
fuck? Jade. You think about that. Jade wrote out a lot of notes for your group project together, and you simply photocopied those and put them into your notebook. So, Sarcat? Why can't I read today? Carcat could mean those.
Is the ink green? That's Jade's writing, if it is.
You tell him.
No, it's in red. Also, there's... Well, I mean, I think those are...
Carcat trails off, and several of his eyes look at you.
If there are crudely drawn penises in the margins, that is Dave's note-taking. He was taking some notes for me when I had to visit my mother. You offered to take over after a while and spared me that fate.
You sigh. Honestly, even that isn't enough to spare you from the fate of dicks in the margins. Simply sitting too near Dave in class and not defending your notebook can cause that.
There's also some kind of poem or something in the corner. It's mostly scribbled out.
Carcat says, and looks at the notebook a little closer to peer at it. A few more eyes appear in the air as he does so.
One of his raps. If he'd thought it was good, he'd have torn it out and kept it, or copied it into his own notebook and left me with a pristine copy.
You explain. Carcat makes a thoughtful noise and waves a hand near the page. You think that's ink floating up near his hand. Is he unscribbling the pen on the paper?
I think it's about me.
Carcat says. You make a sound of polite interest and hide the grin on your face behind your mug of coffee.
He rhymed Vant ass with class.
Yes.
Did he? Did
You
he?
say as seriously as you possibly can under the circumstances.
What does Doki Doki mean?
Carcat asks.
Oh, please ask Dave. Not because I'm hiding information from you, but because I desperately need to see that conversation. You should also call it a poem when you ask him. That'll get a really interesting reaction out of him.
You advise Carcat, who smiles like a cat contemplating pushing an expensive vase off a tall bookshelf.
Well, now I'm very curious about that. Thank you.
He almost purrs.
You are more than welcome. I need to get something to eat before class. I think we have Pop-Tarts.
You say and smother a yawn. You okay? What happened?
Yes, I wrote yawn, but it's actually a smothered yawn. Alas, I yawned in text, and now the whole world can see my mistakes.
Oh no.
Mistakes almost as grand as Jage and Sarcat.
Jage and Sarcat.
My favorite Homestuck duo.
Okay, but my question is, what would Jage and Sarcat look like? I need to draw this now.
Jage has a lot of techno stuff going on, as if to say Gage.
I'm here for it. Needs to have like those massive ear gauges where it's like you could shove a fist through it.
Yeah. And Sarcat is the sleepiest bitch imaginable.
Oh my god, please. Just tired bitch. Just take those normal eye bags and just times a billion.
A billion!
Sleepy bitch, wearing pajamas.
Forever
clutching
pajamas.
a cup of coffee.
They get God tier pajamas and they're like, finally, I never have to change clothes again.
Never have to change ever again. Okay, but Sarcat, what would the god tier be?
That's too detailed for my brain right now.
Okay, fine. I will come up with or no, you know what we could do? We could always just make them a witch of blood and a knight of space.
Space. That's true. Just swap them, bitches.
Yes. Okay, but Jage as a knight of space. Beautiful. We're here for it.
I have forgotten
Oh
where we
shoot,
were.
where were we?
I'll be real.
Okay. We're at in parentheses ew bodies.
Incredible. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'll stick with the notebooks. Feed my curiosity instead of my mouth.
Karkat says with a little wince of distaste. You get up and he buries himself in your notebooks again.
Tentacle therapist began trolling turned tech godhead.
I have oh wait, why did I start reading that?
No worries.
Sorry.
I have excellent news.
Fucking finally.
I have spoken to Karkat about Mindfang, and though he does not seem enthused about her class, he has agreed to go and not to expose himself for what he is. I also told him what she's like, so he doesn't overreact to her.
You told him that she's a huge spidery bitch?
Not in those words, but yes.
Well, okay, that's something.
I also found out from Karkat that one of his rings started working again yesterday, one pertaining to his ability to ask questions and be curious, though I assume it's more nuanced than that, as I'm sure he has asked questions before.
He definitely did, but shit, that's awesome. I'm gonna go tell Sullix. Sullix is freaking out. And calling Matuna.
What does Matuna have to say about it?
Yeah, so that seems to be a thing, and he's filling Sullix in. Hell yeah. Does he seem different?
He has chosen to read my class notes over drinking coffee, so a little bit, yes.
Wow, he loves nerdy notes more than coffee. That's saying something.
Indeed, but that's not the excellent news.
What is?
You will have to ask Karkat about it when you see him. Ask him what he read. Tentacle therapist ceased trolling turned tech godhead.
You wonder, as a point of academic curiosity, if June can feel things like this. She did explain some aspects of her supposedly divine domain after she saved Karkat from death, but before you were all able to restart him. You were very frightened and angry at the time, so you didn't ask nearly the number of questions that you should have done. Perhaps you should take a leaf from Karkat's metaphorical book and be a little more curious. Out of consideration for Karkat's current aversion to food, you eat your Pop-Tarts in the kitchen. Karkat is consuming the notes that you have with a voracious appetite that far outpaces your own hunger for lackluster breakfast pastries. When the time comes to leave, you nudge Karkat to put all of his extra eyes away, and you allow him to borrow your notebooks for now, if he lets you use the one of your magical compact class, should you need it. Your friends and dear sweet unsuspecting brother come and pick you up at your door. You really got something back? Sullix asks Karkat the very second that you open the door. Oh,
Yeah.
I did not list for that. My bad. Let me try that again.
Sure.
You really got something back? Sullix asks Karkat the very second that you open the door.
Yeah, it's knowledge, or wanting it. Didn't Matuna tell you?
Karkat asks as he steps outside. I wanted to hear it from you. I want to see it. See it. I want to see it. Sullix starts. I'm sorry. Sullix is usually on the forefront of my mind, and now it's like, no lisp. We need Z's.
We need Z's. Do you want to switch narrator, or are you good?
I'm good for now.
Cool. Wow, Sullix, at least buy him a drink before you start asking to get Karkat out of his clothes.
Jade says teasingly. Karkat blinks, and you can see the idea connecting.
Yes. Yes, I'm on board with that. Buy me coffee first.
Karkat confirms with a very definitive nod that makes you pretty sure that Sullix actually will have to exchange coffee for such a view in the future. I love that so much. So, what was the other thing? The very good news? Dave wonders.
That is very good news.
June points out and motions with her hands to get your group walking and talking at once. No, but Rose said, oh, wait, something you read? Dave asks Karkat. You fall in step next to June and then pointedly glance back at your brother. June pauses but looks back as well.
I was reading Rose's notebooks, all of her class notebooks.
Karkat begins. Good news. You're such a nerd. Sullik snorts.
I've seen people put nerds in lockers in movies. Should we do that to Karkat?
Jade wonders. Jade, you are the absolute. Oh, wait. You are the absolutely? No. You. God fucking damn it. I can't read.
Ooh.
What's up? I'm Jared. I'm 19 and I never learned how to read. Sorry, 1 second.
All good.
Back at it again, at Krispy Kreme. I almost got ginger beer up my nose. Not ideal.
Sparkling right up into your nostrils, causing havoc,
That would hurt so bad.
causing pain.
Causing pain. Back at it again with the white fans. Anyway, here's Wonderball.
Bow, bow.
I like how, for the most part, we're doing pretty good. And then we just have times where it's like, ah, yes, Jage.
Jage. Sometimes we crash and burn. That is the price of reading. We just gotta keep going.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know about you, but this brain got ADHD, so sometimes I jump around. Sometimes I add words that aren't there. Sometimes I read shit backwards. It's fine.
It's fine.
Okay, give me just a second. I need to Sullik's voice again because we did so much Matuna earlier, so I need to remember Sullik is down here. He isn't high pitched.
Yeah.
He's not all the way up in my nasal. He's just a little bit in the nasal. Sorry, I'm doing my best, Your Honor.
You're good, you're good.
Jade, you are absolutely perfect. Yes. Yes, we see. Sullik's cackle. That's all very... Okay, sorry. Wow, I can...
Are
Can
you
we
sure you don't want to
swap?
switch off, hun?
Yeah, can we swap?
Okay.
I can't read.
Words are hard, words are fake. That's all very funny, Solix, but you're trying to hear Dave and Karkat talking. A total of 38 dicks in the margins and between the lines so far. I've not finished the book yet. You catch the tail end of Karkat saying that.
Rose should be grateful to be the recipient of my masterpieces.
Dave nods. I also found your lovely poem, Karkat says innocently, an innocence entirely faked. Oh, June whispers gleefully as you see Dave's face shift from confusion to dread.
Poem?
He squeaks. Yes, it rhymed. Well, mostly, anyway. It was all crossed out, but I managed to uncover it, Karkat says lightly. Dave looks a little like he's considering flinging himself down the staircase to avoid this conversation. Does this ping your whole thing? You ask June as vaguely as possible given the public space. Oh, very much, June breathes, and you can feel the air around you stir ever so slightly. So that's why you've always been into pranks, you conclude. Behind you, Karkat is inquiring why Dave spelled fat with PH, and what semantic difference that makes to the word. Yeah, and you planned this with him, didn't you? This is premeditated shenanigans, not just live action. June asks, though her hungry eyes don't shift from Dave and Karkat. And on the 5th line, you went on about Doki Doki. What's that mean? Karkat presses Dave further. Fuck me. I love Karkat. I always have. He's the funniest even when he doesn't mean to be. When he does mean to be, he's so good. June giggles and pushes the door open. Really am grateful for you saving him. I know things have been... I don't like being kept in the dark about things, but I wish I knew more about this part of you. At least I know how this works now. You say as you step outside and gesture vaguely to your brother's mortifying ordeal behind you. Yeah, I get that. It's not like I don't want to be what I am, but this whole thing was kind of a clean break for me. I guess I was trying to avoid a lot of things, but I really am your friend, you know? June says, far more honest than anything you've heard from her since this started. Or maybe it's the most honest you've allowed yourself to hear. It seems hard, and I'm sure that people don't comprehend that, but I'd like to try. Solix gives you a look as he passes you and smoothly directs Jade past you, so Dave and Karkat follow on through the open door, leaving space for you and June to be together. Karkat laughs as he passes you and leans in to whisper something to your brother, something that looks a lot less like teasing him for his abandoned rap, and a little bit more teasing in a different way. Karkat wasn't actually trying to fully embarrass Dave, he was just having fun. Very much like the little pranks that June is so fond of. Your friend bumps into your side gently as she starts walking again, following on behind everyone else. You keep step with her and mentally chew over all of this. June hums a few bars of something and then sighs dramatically. You got it stuck in my head, she groans. What? You ask. That one song from that movie, she explains. Helpful, you say, back, and June hums it again. Oh, you do recognize it, actually. Oh, that's the El Dorado movie. We watched that at yours once, you say, trying to dredge it up from your memory. Yes! It's tough to be a god, tread where mortals have not trod, be deified, I started it too low for myself.
Oh no.
Be deified. June returns to humming, like she can't remember the words. You remember them. As soon as she started singing them, they come back. The line ends with, be deified when really you're a sham. The whole song is rather, well, you feel that maybe you should rewatch that movie now, but you're not sure what Karkat would think of it. And that's the end of part 1.
Beautiful. Now I really want to see what would happen if Karkat would watch El Dorado.
That would be an interesting time for sure.
And also now I want to sing that song in Solix's voice.
It's tough to be a god.
Tread where mortals have not trod. Be deified when really you're Sam.
Hey, if it's gonna be stuck in my head all day, it's gonna be stuck in y'all's head all day. It's a rather touching notion, all those prayers and those songs.
I don't remember all the words.
I don't either. That is part of the humming.
Now I need to look up the lyrics.
That reminds me, we should do the squirrel thing soon. That's probably more of an edited thing, so I don't know when we'll get that to you, but everyone look forward to squirrels.
Squirrel heaven, now!
Wow.
Karkat, we can't keep doing this.
Please.
Please.
Wonderful.
I also realized that I had Matuna at like a slightly different voice than before, but honestly, I feel like this one is easier to differentiate from Selleck.
Yeah, stick with it then. All the way.
It was very high pitched and nasally.
Yeah. I like it.
It's also kind of fun because it's way different than my normal voice. Because my normal voice is like in my throat, whereas the Matuna voice is in my nose.
Just jumping back and forth between the axes of the head space.
The axes.
Axes. No take
Yes.
backsies, only axes. Wonderful.
No
Well,
take back keys. Backs.
everybody have a wonderful time. We'll be back here next week, same time. So I probably should have done more of that kind of logistical talk at the beginning, but hey, I'm an adult and I do what I want.
I'm an adult and I forget what we're doing.
I'm an adult and where are we?
What's going on?
Everybody take care of
Jasmine, the moon
yourselves
bear.
out there. Just take care.
Take care. You have no choice.
No choice.